Scottish Rite Masonic Center. My name is Arno MacDonald. I am a member of the Scottish Rite Ethics Initiative. Thank you for attending our presentation of Ethics on Trial. The Scottish Rite would like to thank Judge Laurie Smith Camp, who will be out shortly, Dr. Bev Crocker, who is sitting in fuchsia, Creighton University and the Business Ethics Alliance, as well as Matt Ellis of Woodman of the World, that's to my left, Sarah Waldman from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Connie Lee, who's a stenographer, Chuck Sohn, who is the bailiff. Please review the insert for a complete list of the folks involved with this production. Please remember, for this trial, you, the audience, are the jury and will be voting. Now, unfortunately, there's a misprint in our program. You're going to be voting on a criminal charge, not a civil case as noted in the program. Each of you were handed a wireless voting device as you entered the courtroom. When instructed to vote, you need to follow a few simple instructions. As you have that item in your hand, in the upper left-hand corner, there's a button to turn it on. You don't need to turn it on now, but when you're asked to vote. And if you press 1, you'll have the person being guilty, and press 2 for not guilty. And you'll have 90 seconds to do the vote. The units are borrowed from Building Bright Futures and willing to charge $200 for each missing one. Okay, so it was pointed out to me this is a program on ethics. Yeah. So you will be reminded of this again, but we're going to have 2 votes tonight. After the second vote, we're going to have some of our Scottish Rite members go down the aisles like you would in a church service where they make a collection. Well, we don't want cash. We want the clickers because they're worth cash to us. Okay, hopefully you have viewed the movie Most and learned the outcome of Father's decision. How many of you have seen the movie? So we're getting pretty close to everyone. This trial takes place 2 years after the train incident that you saw occur and is a result of a father's remorse about his decision. This is not a choice of the best of 2 right decisions, just the opposite. This is a choice of 2 terrible decisions. Both choices are horrific. Ethics is being charged with murder. The concept of ethics is on trial. Please remember, ethics is not a tangible item like this building or the chairs that you're sitting in. Yet, we live our lives with ethics as a basic concept for ourselves and our society. You may question, why is the Scottish Rite taking the time and effort to produce this presentation? As an organization, we support ethical decision-making in our community and our country by our members' involvement and our financial commitment. As you walk through the front door of this building, a quote is on the wall in front of you. And that quote is, "To do that which is right to do." And that's attributed to Albert Pike from the mid-1800s. This is our moral and ethical compass. This is why we are involved in this program. Mr. Bailiff?
The participation begins. Will the jury please stand?
You are the jury.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that as a member of this jury, you will discharge your duty honestly and faithfully to the best of your ability, and that you will render a true verdict according to the evidence, without fear, favor, or affection, and that you will be governed by the instructions of the court, so help you God? Amen. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This court is now in session in the matter of the people versus ethics. The charge is conspiracy to commit murder. All persons having testimony to come forth and be heard. The Honorable Judge Laurie Smith Camp presiding. All rise.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, welcome to this Court of Justice for the trial of State versus Ethics. This is a trial of the century. You need to pay close attention to all of the evidence as it comes in, because you will be deciding the verdict in this case. Will counsel for the parties, beginning with the prosecution, please enter their appearances?
Matt Ellis for the prosecution, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Sarah Waldman for the defense.
Very good. We will begin with opening statements, and we will hear first from the prosecution. Mr. Ellis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, you have an unenviable task tonight. Tonight, ethics is on trial. Never before has a case like this been brought. Ethics, as we know it, sits in the balance of your decision here. At the end of this trial, you should come to the same question that I have. Why does ethics have so many friends and followers, especially the way she treats them? Mr. Andrzej over here is an ethical man. He followed ethics his entire life. And because he followed ethics, his son is now dead. We're here today because ethics, despite her reputation to be honored, revered, and followed, has let society down by committing a horrifying crime. In short, ethics actions in an instant caused the death of a little boy. She should be held accountable for that. What exactly is the crime that ethics has committed? It's conspiracy to commit murder. Ethics appeared in the mind of Dmitry Andrzej, and once she appeared in his mind, Dmitry struggled to find the right answer as to lower the bridge and save 300 strangers on a train, but kill his son, or to save his son and kill all the strangers on the train. Had it not been for the appearance of ethics at that very given moment, Mr. Andrzej would not be sitting here today. We would not be here today. This is a tragic story. Mr. Andrzej has paid the ultimate price for following ethics' influence. We are shocked and disappointed. We're expecting more from ethics. We're supposed to feel comforted when we follow ethics. We're supposed to feel fulfilled. That is not the case here tonight. I know I speak on behalf of Mr. Andrzej and myself. We wish we weren't here tonight. I feel like the loneliest man in the room, charging ethics with a crime. We are here only because we owe it to society to have this discussion. We owe it to society to show ethics and everyone who supports her and follows her that she is not the leader to whom we should follow anymore. She is a criminal. She has misled each and every one of us and has committed a horrible crime. So tonight, jury, I'm asking you to send a message to ethics and anyone like her that we will not accept a false leader anymore. I want to thank you in advance for your time and attention to the details. It will get complicated. I trust that at the end of this trial, you'll be shocked as I am that ethics could create such horror. I want to thank you for keeping an open mind. I am confident that together we can carry our burden of proof. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. We will now hear the opening statement by counsel for the defense, Ms. Waldman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Every day, ethics works hard to help people make ethical decisions. Many times, these decisions create tremendous good in the world. Ethics is revered and honored because of the good that she helps people do every day. Examples of people doing the right thing can be seen all over the world every single day. A neighbor taking dinner to an ailing friend, people coming together to help a community who's been ravished by a tornado, a man starting an organization to help parents cope with the loss of a child. Contrary to the prosecution's claims, ethics never promised that inviting her into our lives and making ethical decisions would be easy. Making ethical decisions is hard, and sometimes they involve impossible choices, like in this case, where Mr. Andrzej had to make the tragic choice between saving his own son and saving 300 people on a train. Yes, ethics appeared to Mr. Andrzej and provided him the ability to act in an instant, based on years of ethics coaching. For years, ethics has worked with Mr. Andrzej to prepare him for just this very kind of situation. Working on his moral compass, exploring frameworks for ethical decision making, including the evaluation of the consequences of these decisions, developing his sensitivity to rights and duties, and defining moral emotions like care and compassion. But ethics did not make this decision for Mr. Andrzej. Ethics does not have this power. Ethics helped Mr. Andrzej understand his choices and the potential consequences of his actions, but ethics did not tell Mr. Andrzej which action to take. Only Mr. Andrzej can make this decision. After all, he has free will. It is only because we humans have free will that we can ever be honored and praised for our good decisions or blamed for our bad ones. No, ethics cannot be blamed for Mr. Andrzej's actions. We intend to show that ethics did not conspire to commit murder. Mr. Andrzej was in complete control of the outcome through his own hand. The fact that he is having difficulty accepting the consequences of his decision does not point to a flaw in ethics, but rather to his own human nature. In this tragic, no-win, wrong versus wrong situation, Mr. Andrzej had an impossible choice. With no decision good, wrong versus wrong here, each one is going to lead to extreme emotional consequences for Mr. Andrzej. Knowing your action will result in the death of a loved one or the death of many is a heavy burden no person should ever have to bear. However, this decision was solely Mr. Andrzej's to make. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence today will show that ethics is not responsible for Mr. Andrzej's decision. Therefore, you must return a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waldman. The prosecution may now call its first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, the people call Dmitry Andrzej to the stand.
Mr. Andrzej, if you will please come forward, the bailiff will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Good evening, Mr. Andrzej. Could you please spell your last name for the record?
Andrzej, Ondrej.
Mr. Andrzej, on behalf of the prosecution, please accept my sincerest condolences on the loss of your son.
Thank you.
I think the entire courtroom would like to know, how are you feeling this evening?
How am I feeling? I murdered my son, my only son. I feel alone.
Now, I hate to do this, but we have to do it. I have to ask, do you remember the day in question?
Yes, I remember it every day.
And what exactly do you remember about that day?
I remember pulling that lever and screaming, but no one could hear me. The train, it came early. Lada tried to do the right thing. He knew I didn't see the train. He tried to save everyone himself. He fell into the gears. I couldn't save them both.
And do you remember ethics appearing to you on this day?
Yes, I do. It was at that moment of decision. My hand was on the lever. I glanced over where Lydia was supposed to be. And then at the train, I remember looking at the clock. And then she appeared.
She as in ethics.
Yes.
Did you try and get her out of your mind?
Oh, I tried, but she wouldn't go.
So in your mind, how did ethics play in this decision?
She kept saying that Lydia knew the right thing to do, that he'd forgive me, that the loss of one life to save 300 was the right thing to do. My son was just a life. He was my life. You murdered me.
Now, deep in your heart, do you think this decision would have turned out differently had ethics never appeared?
Oh, yes.
And how so?
My wife, right after Lydia was born, she died. But before she died, she made me promise to always protect Lydia and to keep him safe. How would things have turned out differently? My sonny boy would still be alive.
Now, my next question is going to be a painful one. Do you think ethics is responsible for your son's death?
Oh, yes. If it wasn't for her influence, he would be alive. I would be alive. So yes, it is her fault. She is responsible.
Now, Mr. Andres, have you always been taught that ethics is something you should follow?
Yes. And like a fool, I taught my son the same. That's why he tried to save the passengers himself.
Do you still have this feeling now? Do you feel like you should follow ethics even now?
Oh, no. I will only do what I believe is ethical for me.
Did ethics ever, during your lifetime, lead you to believe that if you followed her, she'd leave you with a feeling of goodness in yourself and others?
Yes. That is what ethics tells everybody, doesn't she? That it might be difficult, but you'll always know that you made the right choice. Right? Cradle your dead son in your arms, and then see if you believe in listening to what ethics has to say.
Do you have these feelings today?
What, feelings of goodness? I can't even look myself in the mirror. I can't even visit my wife's grave. I'm ashamed. I failed as a father and as a husband. If that's feeling good, then I hope ethics feels just as good as I do.
Now, Mr. Andres, do you feel your life is better or worse because of the defendant?
Oh, worse. Much worse.
Do you feel that ethics should be punished here tonight?
Yes. She can't be allowed to tell another parent that the right thing to do is to kill their child. She killed my Lydia, and she killed me.
Thank you, Mr. Andrzej. I want to thank you for your openness and candidness here tonight. I know it wasn't easy. I will do my best to convict ethics for you and your family.
Please, thank you.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Andrzej. You may stand down. The prosecution may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The prosecution calls ethics to the stand.
Ethics, if you will please come forward, the bailiff will swear you in.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed.
Good evening, ethics. Would you please spell your name for the record?
I am Ethics, Ethics. I was born with humankind thousands of years ago, the moment you became self-aware. I too ponder, why am I here? Some will say I have a theological origin. Some say I'm an evolutionary adaptation, and some even say that I'm an illusion. I don't really know who my parents are or what my parents are, but I do know that I am here, I am with you, and I am in you.
Thank you. You just heard the testimony of Mr. Andrzej. How'd that make you feel?